episode 15 of the VP podcast. Today, we have Chris Duprey, uh, and Chris has built his career and life on the belief that every person has untapped potential waiting to be discovered. He's a former Army officer turned business leader and coach. Uh, and Chris thrives on helping others uncover what's possible within themselves and guiding them toward breakthroughs that create lasting impact. After transitioning from the military, Chris led teams in the business world and earned his graduate degree at Quinnipiac University. Today, as a partner at the Question First Group, he helps leaders and teams have better conversations, build deeper connections, and achieve breakthroughs. His mission is simple: to create leaders who create other leaders. Outside of work, Chris channels his creativity as a musician, playing bass guitar and writing lyrics for his band. He's also a devoted father. Uh, Chris believes that with self awareness, intentional communication, and the commitment to growth, anyone can achieve extraordinary things. Again, Chris, thanks a bunch, man, for jumping on this
Yeah,
episode.
of course.
And definitely not nice to have you. So, you know, I was definitely very interested in your in the topics on your page.
Hmm.
Can we, if I can, sort of ask some introductory questions real quick, and then we can probably dive into one of your main, areas of expertise.
Sure.
Um, your journey started in the 82nd Airborne Division. I mean, what are some of the biggest leadership lessons that you learned in the military that you feel still apply
Yeah.
today in business today?
Yeah. So, I mean, I will tell you a couple of the key things. I'll go a couple, and then I'll go deep on one or two.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest thing that whether you're an enlisted soldier, sailor, airman, or an officer, and either, wherever you are,
Mm-hmm.
you get to see good, bad, phenomenal, and the worst of leaders every day,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because not everybody's on that same path. And I think that
Yeah.
all vets can relate to whether they had like the best boss.
Mm-hmm.
And as they describe that person, it's usually somebody that pushed them really hard, that
Mm-hmm.
cared about them, that helped them grow and develop. And then they could also tell you a story about the worst leader that was all about themselves, that just wanted to
Mm-hmm.
get things done to make them look good, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that one of the big takeaways was becoming aware of what are the different attributes of the good and the bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it almost gives you this awareness if you're really looking for it, right? So that was the first thing, is like that leadership comes in all different shapes and sizes,
Mm-hmm.
but effective leadership usually comes like that first example, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where we're others focused, and you can really feel they take ownership and helping you, right? So that was the
Mm-hmm.
first. Um, the second, which is something that I think is missing in the business community in many places, is this thing called disciplined initiative, right?
Mm-hmm.
The idea that we as leaders can trust the people that work for us or work with us to just go get after it and do the things that needed to be done. And so when I got out of the maneuver captain's career course and got to Fort Bragg, and I was assigned to 1st Brigade of the 82nd as the deputy plans officer.
Uh-huh.
And my boss, who's now a colonel, was a major at the time, Adam Barlow. One of the first things he did was hand me a copy of A Message to Garcia, which is this essay that's incredibly old, that's about the Spanish-American War and the president handing a letter to this army captain and saying, "Get this to Garcia. He's on the other side of Cuba." And
Mm-hmm.
it's this whole story about initiative. And that sunk in so deep that it's, go figure it out for yourself. And only when you're totally stuck, go and seek assistance. Right?
Mm-hmm.
This was that was ingrained. And I think most infantry officers likely were made to read that book, uh,
Mm-hmm.
or that essay, I should say, right? And the last big takeaway for me, I'd say, is I learned that I was not a good listener.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that same mentor, Adam Barlow, we were in Afghanistan and he was trying to like his whole outside of the mission we were doing. This was before I took command and he was doing everything to help me get ready.
Mm-hmm.
And we sat down for a counseling session. He started to tell me something I was doing wrong or that I need to get better at. And I cut him off. I was like, "Oh, yeah, sir, I'm working on that." And he
Mm-hmm.
looked me dead in the face and said, "Chris, if you cut me off again, I'm going to punch you in the face." Right? Right? And at that moment, though, it became so clear that, oh, holy smokes, I'm not listening.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hearing fragments of what I want to hear and then trying to manipulate the situation to what I
Mm-hmm.
want versus actually hearing what somebody is actually communicating with me so that we can have a real conversation, not a fake one.
Mm-hmm.
So those are probably three real big takeaways that sort of set me up for everything I've done post my time in the Army.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow. Well, that's very interesting. Yeah, I think that's me. Well, I mean, you probably have you probably have a very good rapport with your boss, man. I don't know if it was actually even anywhere close to that stage, man. I would.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
I think a lot of folks probably have that
Yeah.
mentor because
Uh-huh.
that's really what he was, right? And so,
Mm-hmm.
it's Afghanistan 2012, and we're
Mm-hmm.
getting up in the morning, doing PT together, eating breakfast, going to work
Mm-hmm.
together right? And so we had that, and it was just so clearly eye-opening when that happened
Mm-hmm.
because like, holy smokes, I'm not listening. And then you fast forward to today
Mm-hmm.
where I spend a lot of time watching people communicate, right? So
Mm-hmm.
like whether it's internal company meetings that they record or
Mm-hmm.
sales conversations, and you can watch people pretending to be listening, but you can
Mm-hmm.
see based on their facial expressions that they're off in left field thinking about something else. And I
Mm-hmm.
always go back to that moment at Fob Warrior in Southern Ghazni of that
Mm-hmm.
moment when I realized like that's what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's led to like a huge learning that has sort of created my post army life.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Definitely profound. Yeah, definitely profound. Okay, that was actually the answer to my second question, which was really the pivotal moment when a mentor taught you the power of listening. So yeah,
Yes.
so that was those two introductory questions. If we let me ask you one quick question
Mhm.
on mindset and personal growth. That you emphasize a lot of self-awareness, and disciplined initiative. How can small business owners develop these traits, in your opinion, in their daily lives, of course?
So it's a great question, right?
Hmm.
Because there's so many things and you can get totally overwhelmed with it.
Hmm.
So if I go to what's the easiest path to it is go watch yourself lead a meeting,
Hmm.
right? So whether and again, this could be if you're an in-person company, just set up a Zoom that's focused at you and hit record. Like there's so many ways to do it. But if you're
Hmm.
virtual, it's real easy. but I want you to watch yourself and the interactions you have with the team and who's talking more,
Mm-hmm.
right? Who's asking more questions? Are you getting stuff from the team or are you talking at the team?
Mm-hmm.
Once you see that, it's hard to unsee,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now that's an uncomfortable way to get there. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So let's acknowledge that. The, you know, another path that is a longer path is there's tons of books about awareness. There's tons of books about mindfulness. There's tons of practices for that.
Mm-hmm.
And, so I've got that cool story with Adam back in 2012. And I gave myself like a simple memory trigger of I always carry 3 pens with me.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I'm talking, I
Mm-hmm.
always sort of have the blue one, like the blue one stands out or it's in my hand or
Mm-hmm.
it's somewhere.
Oh
If I'm
wow.
taking a task, I've got the red, right? That's a throwaway.
Yeah.
But if I'm in a sales call, in a leadership meeting where I'm asking questions or hearing what other people are saying, I
Yeah.
grasp this green pen
Yeah.
like it's like I will die if I don't have it.
Oh man.
Well, but it's trained my brain to when I'm holding that green pen,
Mm-hmm.
I'm in listen mode. I am
Wow.
take notes, like maybe have questions, but do not be thinking about what you're going to say next. It's
Mm-hmm.
about listening.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been doing that for 13 years now, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I always have them with me. If you looked at my notebooks, they're in all 3 colors.
Mm-hmm.
But that is a simple trick that I had, right? So I would challenge people to say, if you know that you're not a great listener, have
Mm-hmm.
some forcing function,
Yeah.
whether pen, whatever it is.
A visual cue or
Yeah,
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 some kind of cue. Yeah.
right. So that we don't talk too much. Because that's
Mm-hmm.
a thing to killing your awareness is that you're just always on. So you're never in this reflective mode. The last piece is to come up with some sort of mindfulness practice, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, as so many people have said, like, wherever you are, be there.
Mm-hmm.
I think leaders' biggest problems are we are intentionally thinking 3 plays ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And there's moments when that's really, really good. But when we're in team meetings, when we're in one-on-ones, when we're in sales conversations,
Mm-hmm.
we have to be here because we might know what the third move is, but we have to help everybody else get there, not just
Mm-hmm.
assume that they know what they need to do or why it's important. And so those are some critical pieces to do it. And you have to give yourself some time and
Yeah.
some compassion around, like some grace to yourself that you might not be as good as you'd like to from the awareness standpoint. You may not be as good as you want to be in the listening. So go work on it. And there are people and plenty of ways to go focus on that.
Oh wow. Wow. That's very interesting. So a lot of those things that we take for granted, we can, and it's so fundamental. And I like the actual action plan to to correcting that, for which I'm sure will work for a lot of business owners. I never thought of that.
Yeah. It's incredibly helpful for me.
Hmm. Yeah. So like I was saying, of course, I was curious about one of the areas of your expertise, which you talk about, the 4 pillars of high impact communication.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see if we can dive into that a little.
Yeah.
um and of course, if there's time remaining, we can of course balance it out with other discussions.
Yeah.
Could you kind of share with me what these four pillars are, just to give an overview of what these four pillars are of high
Yeah.
impact communication.
Yeah. So as we developed what we call breakthrough conversations as the framework,
Mm-hmm.
there are these four things that lead to that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now this the fun part about this is nothing's really new.
Mm-hmm.
It is just when put together, it's a
Mm-hmm.
thing, right? And so the first pillar is the pillar of yes and it's
Mm-hmm.
exactly what you think, right? So think improv. That is the birth of yes
Mm-hmm.
where an improv actor brings something into a scene and
Mm-hmm.
everybody else adds on to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, in communication, think about it as a positive energy, a always moving things forward. Nothing can get
Mm-hmm.
in our way.
Mm-hmm.
So when something goes wrong, we don't flinch,
Mm-hmm.
we lean into it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That is yes and. So it can be body language. It can be the fact that we don't say, "Oh, that all sounds good, but," because
Mm-hmm.
that deflates energy,
Mm-hmm.
right? So yes and always moving forward. Everything's okay. And it's how do we add on to things that are said to move the conversation in a way that is good for the group. That's yes and. So that's the first pillar. I
Mm-hmm.
am a Star Wars nerd.
Mm-hmm.
Like to say it's like the force that surrounds all communication. And
Yeah.
when used for good, it
Mm-hmm.
makes conversation flow. It makes people feel seen and heard. When the opposite is there, where we don't use yes and, where the energy is negative or it's not always building, this is when people feel unheard. This is when people
Mm-hmm.
don't talk. This is when questions feel like interrogation versus getting us to a great spot. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's yes and. That's the first pillar. The second pillar is what we call vanguarding. So if you think of like the Roman legion,
Mm-hmm.
the the scouts that went first were the vanguard of the battle, right? They were the tip of the spear. Vanguarding is making sure that we address concerns before they become concerns because that's the
Mm-hmm.
best time to do it, right?
Yeah, yeah, it is. Uh-huh.
So we joke if you're in a conversation and you're saying something and you hear all the but statements, well, but this or but that. If you use the proper vanguards, you'll leave no but unchecked, right?
Hey man, yeah, you hit me with those bumper stickers, man.
You got
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So, but this idea of if you think about a sales conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, first time you're talking to the sales rep, if they haven't told you anything, there's certain things in your brain
Mm-hmm.
that you're like, is this worth my time? Are they just going to pitch at me?
Yeah,
But and you're sort of guarded.
yeah.
But if a sales rep comes in and does a great vanguard at the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
hey, today we're here to talk about what brought you here, what's going on in the business.
Yeah.
At the end, we're going to know X, Y, and Z. And so you'll
Mm-hmm.
know whether or not we should talk again or if you should go
Yeah.
somewhere, right? It's us getting ahead of all of those fears,
Wow. Huh, that's powerful, man.
right? So, I mean, so think about it in terms of a one on one, or if
Yeah.
you know that you're going to have a tough conversation with an employee or feedback to employee, what are all of the things that they could use as excuses and how do you get ahead of them?
Yeah.
How do you alleviate that? So we go from objection handling
Mm-hmm.
to bringing it to the forefront and disarming it at the beginning. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That is vanguarding. Okay. Then we go to question first. That is the third principle. And this is
Mm-hmm.
it's not our job to tell people what to do, it's our job
Mm-hmm.
to help them discover what's right.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about you are exponentially more prone to do something that you discovered for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
you are to do whatever I told you to do. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is starting with this level of curiosity. It is unpacking assumptions. That is question first.
Mm-hmm.
and the last is the law of 3. And we call it the law of 3 because the law of 10,000 is too big of a number. But it's this idea that the first answer is always a surface answer. To get to the root cause, we have to keep asking questions. Okay. And so we say there's really 3 ways that you know that you've gotten to the end on something. Somebody has that aha moment. Oh, I know exactly what I need to do now. You get to deep emotion, how something's impacting that human. Or the third is you could paint a picture of everything that was discussed. So those 4 pillars go together to make breakthrough conversations. We have really deep energy that is positive, that is moving things forward, that's there to help. We are getting ahead of any fears, worries, concerns, issues, objections, problems that could come up. We're super curious in our approach, and then we dig deeper and deeper and deeper until we get to those root cause issues so that folks can discover for themselves what it is they need to do.
Wow.
Right? So if those are the 4 pillars, we took another step further. And so we've broken it down into 4 different ways that you show up as a communicator. Right? So for yourself and for the listeners, you can draw this out and as I explain it. So you're going to draw a north-south arrow and you're going to draw an east-west arrow. At the top, you're going to write them. Right? This is the audience. And the audience can be 1 person, it can be 100 people, but it's them. Like the person that you're talking to. At the bottom, you put yourself. Okay? That spectrum is who is the conversation there to benefit. At the bottom, it's us. At the top, it's our audience. Then on the east to west, on the right side, you put curious or asking. And on the left side, you put telling. This is the spectrum of curiosity, right? And so that bottom left box is focused on the initiator of the conversation. So it's them or us focused, telling. Well, we call that the dictator, right? So think early Steve Jobs. He wanted things his way because he wanted them his way. He didn't hold back. He wasn't curious. He just said that stuff. Okay. Then you move over to the bottom right. You've got curious, but self-interested, right? We call that the lawyer. So this is where they're asking questions, but to get their ends met, right? Just like think of an attorney, during a cross-examination, they're asking questions, maybe not associated to get to the truth, but to either to get whatever it is that they want to get done. Then we go to the top left. This is others focused, so audience focused, but tells. This is like the sales leader that gets promoted as sales manager, who's like, hey, here's exactly what I did. Just do it my way and you're going to be successful. Like it's about helping other people get successful, but they just tell them their thing. Then in the top right, we have what we call the pathfinder. They care about the person they're communicating with. It's all about them. And they ask questions to help guide the person to self-discovery. This is like Ted Lasso. This is like, quite frankly, Adam Barlow was like that with me when I was in the Army. Like, they don't limit your potential based on their thinking. They ask you questions to help you get there. And so the whole idea is that we want to live in that pathfinder realm. And to do it, we leverage those 4 pillars of breakthrough conversations, staying others focused and staying super curious.
Wow. Yeah. Thanks. That's definitely insightful. Definitely insightful. Let's kind of, circle back on on the yes end. You mentioned that it was indeed, of course, something inspired from improv.
Mhm.
How would you say that the concept applies, to business communication and
Yeah.
leadership? Like,
So think of it. A classic example
mm-hmm,
is, so let's say that your business just got a negative review.
mm-hmm,
A non yes and version of that is you as the leader losing your mind about how
mm-hmm,
something didn't go right.
mm-hmm,
The yes and version of that is being excited that you got feedback that you and your team can then go take
mm-hmm,
action on to improve the organization, right?
mm-hmm,
One takes a negative thing and makes it into a positive that helps move you forward. The
mm-hmm,
other might make you feel better to go yell and scream at people, but in
mm-hmm.
essence, it is not going to help the organization move forward, right? So there's one. Another one is simply think about a team meeting. So you're in the meeting and somebody says something that's not quite there.
Mm-hmm.
If you yes and through it, you acknowledge them, you thank them for their contribution, and then you go, hey, so let's add on to that, and like,
Mm-hmm.
what else could we do? So that is gonna feel and look a lot different than if we're like, nope, that's wrong.
Oh,
Get a better,
okay.
you know what I'm saying?
I get it. I totally get it, man. Yeah.
And how often? Because I don't think that leaders do the shut people down because they want to shut people down, but
Yeah.
they are not aware of how their energy, their body
Yeah.
language, and their
Okay.
so if
Okay.
we teach yes and
Yeah. Hey, by the way, this is not now apparently, as you can see, a light bulb just came on in my head. Hey, it ain't just business, bro.
well,
It
so
ain't
so
just it's it. So I literally see how a lot of even just regular conversations you have every day can be night and day if go from the more popular routine approach, the more popular what do you call impulsive response to the yes and response. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
so it's this thing of like, while we teach this to sales teams, leadership teams, leaders,
Yeah,
I use this stuff with my kids,
yeah.
right? Like you
Mm-hmm.
use this anywhere because the pillars, these principles
Uh-huh.
matter no matter where you're at,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because nobody wants to get shut down.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to feel dumb. People want to be seen and heard and treated with respect. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
and helps us teach and really ingrain that into our systems
Mm-hmm.
so that we can move forward and get to real conversation
Mm-hmm.
versus surface level.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm loving this. I'm loving this, man. And hopefully, I can we can do more episodes
Yeah.
where this can be brought into context. So now vanguarding is also something that you mentioned. Um, so how is it essential for leaders and entrepreneurs? Okay, now
Yeah.
specifically in the business in the
Yeah.
business context, where is it pivotal?
So, I mean, granted, I would argue that when you get really good at this, you are vanguarding like mid conversation, like it just happens.
Hmm.
But think, so go to a feedback conversation, go
Hmm.
to a team meeting. We know that there are certain things that could come up
Hmm.
that could totally derail us. Well,
Hmm.
let's address them. Let's talk about it. Right. So,
Hmm.
my favorite is, so we're in, this isn't what we're talking about, but
Hmm.
people talk about how we're on meeting overload. There's too many meetings, and
Hmm.
half the time I'm half the time I'm not paying attention in the meeting. Like, you hear
Hmm.
that, you read it everywhere.
Hmm.
Well, if we know that that's true, that people might feel this way,
Mm-hmm.
what are the things that are distracting them? What are the things that are getting in the way? Why don't they feel like it's a valuable use of their time?
Mm-hmm.
Vanguard that at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, if I'm doing a meeting, and I do this often, that's over 60 minutes. So if
Yeah.
I'm 90-minute session or longer, I start with, okay, so how do we all need to show up
Mm-hmm.
behaviorally to make this a great meeting? And
Mm-hmm.
I ask people that question. And you almost always hear somebody say, well, we need to be present,
Mm-hmm.
right? Right now, do we know what that means fully? If you just said, I got to be present, we don't really know what that means, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
like we could assume that you and I have the same answer, but I don't know. So I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
go, well, what will that look like in this meeting?
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm going to, so see, this is still a Vanguard,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm using the law of three now to
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
spell it all out. And so
Uh-huh.
then somebody say, well, we gotta not get distracted. Okay, well,
Mm-hmm.
what's going to distract you? And everybody will then pull up their phone. And so what do we have to do to stay present?
Yeah. Yeah.
Get your audience, right? Your team to say, well, we got to put our phones on do not disturb. We got to go put them
Yeah.
up. Great. Can we all agree to do that? Yep. Great. What else? And you get them saying all the things instead
Mm-hmm.
of me coming in and saying, hey, we got a 90-minute
Oh
meeting
man,
on
that's
your phone.
beautiful. That's beautiful.
Because what happens the
Yeah.
second I
Yeah.
come in with this long list of rules,
Yeah.
you're feeling a certain way about me, right?
Yeah.
But if I get you and the team to set all the rules, whose rules
Mm-hmm.
are
Yeah.
they're yours, right? And that is
Mm-hmm.
such a simple thing for a leader to do at the beginning of a meeting,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or if people are like, I'm not sure why I'm here. If I had a meeting where there's a lot of people and we brought them there for awareness,
Mm-hmm.
I'm literally going to say, hey, some of you are going, I don't know why I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
So before you start thinking that and don't engage, if you had to answer, why did your boss ask you to come to this meeting? And guess what they're going to do? They're going to have an answer.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can say things like, hey, so as we're here, instead of thinking, why am I here? Go, how does this apply to what I'm doing?
Mm-hmm.
That's vanguarding to get ahead of that stuff. Meetings is such a key. Any other conversation too is making
Mm-hmm.
sure that we are both on the same page so we don't have any distractions in this meeting, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we can, the Harvard Business Review everywhere can sit there and bash meetings all day long.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think meetings are bad. I think that meetings led by people that are bad communicators are bad.
Mm-hmm.
Meetings led by great communicators usually are great and they're collaborative and they move the ball forward. So let's
Mm-hmm.
go solve the actual root problem. It's not too many meetings. It's too many meetings led by bad communicators.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how vanguarding can fit in a business setting immediately.
Yeah. 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 Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Let's touch on the question first. Next. Okay. So you kind of touched on it a little bit on the overview. Um, how? Okay. In a business setting, um, if you want to change the dynamic of a conversation, what is it, what does that look like
So
when you
so many places to go, but let's just start with this first one.
uh-huh
Leaders' job is not to tell people what to do, it's to help them figure it out for themselves. So,
uh-huh
standard situation you see all day long. And by the way, this happened in the army too. And
mm-hmm,
so I'm sure this will resonate, but
mm-hmm,
where somebody that works for you comes up and says, hey, I don't know how to do this thing. Like, what should I do, boss? Or
mm-hmm,
some version of that.
mm-hmm,
And too often leaders just tell them exactly what to do.
mm-hmm.
And so they come ask you a question, you give them an answer. Then what happens the next time they have a question? They come right back to you and you
Yeah,
get an
yeah,
answer. and you create a dependency on you.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So instead, just say things like, well, what do you think? Well, if it was your choice, what would you do?
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, I'll help you get there, but right now, what's the first things that you're thinking about?
Mm-hmm.
So it's engaging in a conversation,
Yeah.
right? But 9 times out of 10, they have a path that they want to choose,
Mm-hmm.
but we have not created the environment where they feel like they can take this disciplined initiative. And that's
Mm-hmm.
why our first interaction should be a question,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
It's
okay.
like whenever you're met with resistance,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I'm here for this meeting. Okay, well, if you had to answer, what would you say? Right? When met with resistance, ask a question.
Mm-hmm.
These are like, again, this is not profound. It's just we can disarm people by asking them to making them think through
Mm-hmm.
whatever's going on,
Mm-hmm.
and it allows for more disciplined initiative. It allows for more growth
Mm-hmm.
because it's like that, that joke. If we keep answering all the questions,
Mm-hmm.
our employees are going to turn into like young kids that are always going, Dad, 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 help me with this, Dad, Dad, Dad.
Mm-hmm.
But if you teach your kids how to wash their own laundry or cook food,
Mm-hmm.
you don't get all the nagging, right? Or the dependence on you. And, as parents, we don't want our kids to be dependent on us forever, right? We want them to
Mm-hmm.
grow. So why would we treat our employees any differently?
Yeah. Yeah.
Want them to grow and thrive. So our job is to ask them questions to make them think, to get them to use their brains,
Mm-hmm.
just doing whatever we tell them to do.
Mm-hmm. So now let me ask you, are there any go-to questions that you've seen are very effective over the years? I know what do you think is one of them, right? But are there like the top,
Yeah.
the favorite
So,
fives?
and simple is best, right?
Uh-huh.
So one of the ones that we always come up with, and again, these are like scenario based,
Yeah, yeah.
but if somebody is struggling with something, right? I'm
Mm-hmm.
just not feeling my best. I'm feeling down. I'm feeling like I'm not as productive.
Yeah.
It's like, when was the last time you didn't feel like this?
Uh-huh.
Get them back to when they didn't feel like that. They tell you,
Yeah.
go, what was true then that's not true now?
Oh, wow.
Real simple, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But it's again, it's taking, to me, question first helps get people to learn and think, but it also
Mm-hmm.
puts them in control of themselves.
Yeah, yeah, it absolutely does. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you come to me and are like, Chris, man, I'm just really bummed. This is going wrong. This is going wrong. Well, was there a time when it didn't feel like that? Well, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about that. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. So what's different today? Right. You're helping people think through,
Mm-hmm.
but they have mental blockers because that's how the brain is, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can help through that stuff. So that's
Mm-hmm.
one example of good ones. I'll tell you, my favorite question isn't really even a question,
Mm-hmm.
but it's tell me more.
Mm-hmm.
So a buyer says, Chris, that's just too expensive. I'm going to say, too expensive? Tell me more about that. Because guess what? I don't understand. I don't know what expensive means to you versus means to me. We,
Yeah, yeah,
we could have the same definition or we could be light years apart.
yeah.
So instead of operating off of assumptions, you just ask a quick little question.
Wow. Huh.
I mean, I'm telling you, in sales, we will go teach this. We call it the pushback pivot.
Yeah.
It's too expensive. I don't like some negative statement that
Mm-hmm.
needs to be defined. We'll go teach a whole room of salespeople this, where you just say the negative phrase and something like, tell me more about that. What do you mean? That's all we want them to say. So they get the person speaking.
Mm-hmm.
The second you hear a negative thing as a salesperson, you start going on defense and pitching again, even though we just told you, just say, too expensive, tell me more. And so
Mm-hmm.
we have to rewire folks into that. But those are go-tos, man. Like those short, simple, so that you get clarity and then you can move on.
Yeah, yeah, that is powerful. Wow, wow.
Simple. Like it is so simple.
Yeah.
It is not easy to turn into a habit.
Hmm. Oh, okay. Yes, that's great. Obviously, it's funny. We are of course talking about this in a business context, but a lot of the concepts that you mentioned immediately they have jumped out to me. Hey, these can be applied in even just people at a bar talking.
Yeah,
You make
100%.
conversation fluid. Okay, awesome, awesome. Okay, so now jumping into the law of three. Yeah, you mentioned. Let's dig into that a little bit. How is that? You know, can you break it down again?
Yeah.
Because I know structuring communication is somewhat tricky. Can we
Well, yeah.
kind of yeah?
So simplest thing is your first answer is
Uh
never the right answer.
uh
It's so we might say to somebody, "How was your weekend?"
yeah.
And 99% of the time, somebody can say it was good,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or you ask your spouse or your significant other or your kid, "How was your day?" And they
Mm-hmm.
come, and if it's like a 15-year-old girl, they're going to say, "Fine." Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's my daughter's response. It was fine.
Mm-hmm.
Do I know anything when they say fine? No.
Mm-hmm.
So I dig in and dig in. So, well, specifically what happened? Like you just start asking questions around that.
Uh-huh.
Get to an aha moment,
Mm-hmm.
emotion, or you can paint the
Mm-hmm.
picture, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
an example in like a business setting,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you might ask, "Hey, what happened? Why is the project delayed?" And
Mm-hmm.
somebody's going to give you a first level answer. Well, there was a delay in the materials from getting delivered.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can accept that, but that's really probably not the root cause problem
Mm-hmm.
in that project being delayed. So you go, well, what else?
Mm-hmm.
When did we order? Right, like you're digging in to get
I
because
got you.
again, going back to the military stuff, it's this
Mm-hmm.
idea we need to stop the bleed at the source,
Mm-hmm.
not just treat the little symptoms here and there,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so when we use surface level answers,
Mm-hmm.
we apply tons of assumptions to whatever is said.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when we do that, we aren't sure. And so we might go solve a problem that didn't need to be solved while missing
Mm-hmm.
the problem that needed to be solved.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the law of three is our way of digging in, uncovering, confirming or denying basically any assumptions and
Mm-hmm.
getting root cause problem. All right. So if you think of, for all the vets out there, right? So that, in troop leading procedures in the army or the military decision making process, at a certain
Mm-hmm.
initiate movement or start reconnaissance.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as a company commander, that meant I sent out like a couple dudes who would
Mm-hmm.
go, "Oh, yep, the enemy's right there." Or we would have, you know, um, a UAV that would do some of that. Well, in the business world and the sales world, questions are our reconnaissance,
Mm-hmm.
right? So go confirm or deny the assumptions that y'all have by asking
Mm-hmm.
questions and not accepting these high level, oh, it was good. So if you're like an IT company, I see this happen all the time in sales conversations. Well, we're just, checking to see what's out there. And the rep will go, well, how's your relationship with your current IT company? That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Two things aren't true. Okay. If you're searching for a new IT company,
Yeah.
like they might be, how you're doing with your IT company today might be livable,
Uh-huh.
but it isn't good.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I hear, "Oh, it's fine," tell me more about that. So what is it that you love that they're doing? And then I'm gonna say, well, what are they doing that you would like to see different?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to figure out why the hell are you here?
Mm-hmm.
And I have to do that by asking tons and tons and tons of questions.
I got you. I got you. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
get to those.
Wow. Yeah, man. These are so. Yeah, these are very profound. Let me be honest. Even though they seem simple, but having everyday conversations, we seem whether because of distractions or whether because we're so
Mhm.
used to go go go, we just kind of people tend to overlook them, and they have, of course, dire consequences if you overlook it. So let me ask you though. So there are four. There are four pillars. If you were kind of advising a small business owner, and you just wanted them, you just have to pick one that they can use to get started. Which one would you
That's a
feel is the
it's interesting.
yeah?
That's the first time I've been asked that question. Um, it's gonna depend on what's going
Uh-huh.
on in the company, right?
Oh,
But
okay.
if you go to all you can do is one,
Oh, no,
I
no, no, no. That's not what I mean. Where do you get started? Which one do you get started
so,
with? Which
well,
which
so
is the first one you get started with? So sorry
here
about that.
it goes. So the
Mhm.
way that I would get people started is
Yeah.
we do a full day workshop on this,
Oh,
right?
oh, okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so we do a full day workshop.
Yeah.
But here's what people get good at first.
Uh-huh.
Okay. They get good at yes and first,
Oh, okay.
and they get good, and you start hearing vanguarding
Yeah.
as a verb
Yeah.
used of the organization, right?
Wow.
Because so just this shift of how do we show up, that's measurable and easy, and it's about body language and attitude. And for some reason,
Yeah.
people hook onto that.
Uh-huh.
Then vanguarding complements it so much, and everybody wants to have great conversations, great meetings,
Yeah.
that they realize it's so easy to see the benefits of vanguarding and yes and used.
Yeah.
And so I have with my clients, we keep a discussion board and they have to practice noticing stuff. And
Yeah.
so I had a young woman highlight how she was at a coffee shop and the line
Mm-hmm.
was really long because there was only one barista
Mm-hmm.
and the sentiment was not good. And this young woman sort of jumps up on the counter and says, "Hey, listen, the other barista was supposed to be here 5 minutes ago. They're stuck in traffic. It's just me. I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to get through all this." Like, so she just addressed the concern,
Yeah.
positive attitude,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody's anger dismissed,
Yeah.
and they were fine with standing in this line, right?
Yeah.
But but as we teach this, like that young woman noticed that as an
Mm-hmm.
example of those two principles.
Yeah.
Wild. That's
Wow.
you first things. Question first and the law of three,
Uh-huh.
harder to instill as habits
Yeah.
because as leaders, we've been told this fallacy for years
Mm-hmm.
that it's our job to tell people what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so the biggest thing, the biggest pushback is like, it's just easier
Mm-hmm.
to tell them.
Mm-hmm.
I help folks see that in that moment, that might be true. But if that
Mm-hmm.
moment happens 4 or 5 times a day, is
Mm-hmm.
it faster and easier? Or is
Mm-hmm.
one conversation to instill disciplined initiative gonna save you over the long run?
Mm-hmm.
So that's really what I've seen doing this for the last 5 years. Um,
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so let's what's okay, so in closing,
mm,
what is okay, so let me I think I lost my train of thought here. Yeah, so okay, no, okay. So you've already you addressed yeah, like the most important one.
mhm,
So let's kind of merge a little into mindset shift. So just some complimentary,
Mhm.
comments to go with the four pillars. Overall, uh, what do you feel is a mindset shift that the potential business owners can implement today uh, to start
So,
seeing,
yeah. Well, listen, it's simple. It's the
mm,
idea that you embrace. It's not our job to tell people what to do,
yeah,
but to help guide them to the right answer.
yeah,
And so it's taking on this. Leading doesn't mean telling people exactly what to do. It means
uh-huh,
them get there for themselves. If you can embrace that,
yeah,
the four pillars, all that stuff comes together. And
yeah,
then you apply the Pathfinder's compass and you go, am I centric on my, like, am I just trying to get my stuff done or
mm-hmm,
am I others focused? If we can get leaders to be others focused
mm-hmm,
and understanding that getting them to discover for themselves is the key,
mm-hmm,
could be good to go and have better organizations, better people, and better conversations in general.
yeah. Hey, out of curiosity,
Mhm.
how does hey, sorry about I gotta get this pop up. Yeah, so out of curiosity, how does someone practice this?
Yeah,
Do you suggest, or maybe they go to meetups or something, or maybe is there a way to practice
yeah,
it solo on your own? Or
yeah.
I'm
So there's
okay. I'm sorry if you're listening. I'm falling back again into the four pillars. Apparently, the four pillars is like a magnet, man. It's just
mm, that's great. That's
yeah,
great. Here's what you can do. There's several
uh-huh,
different ways.
yeah.
So one, role play is the best thing, right?
Role play, okay.
So role playing is the best thing. Now,
Uh-huh.
this is the beauty of today.
Mm-hmm.
Today, artificial intelligence can role play with you really,
Yeah.
really.
Uh-huh.
So you can go practice a hard conversation
Yeah.
with chat GPT in voice mode and have a two-way conversation,
Oh,
right?
okay. Okay.
Now, at the highest level, you have a coach like myself or my partners
Mm-hmm.
who, what we do when we work with clients after a kickoff workshop is
Yeah.
run bi-weekly role play sessions
Yeah.
and to get that ingrained.
Yeah.
I think that most organizations will
Uh-huh.
have sales role playing as part of their company, or sometimes they do it.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Sales teams should role play weekly.
Uh-huh.
Leadership teams should also role play
Oh,
at
okay.
cadence,
Okay.
because while for sales it's like, well, you don't want to practice on your buyers.
Oh, okay.
Leaders, why would you want to practice on your teammate, on your employees?
Mm-hmm.
Practice with the other leaders, so
Mm-hmm.
that when you have one-on-ones, when you have to give feedback,
Mm-hmm.
you're actually practicing it so that the employees
Mm-hmm.
get this amazing world-class experience and grow
Uh-huh.
from it.
Oh,
Versus,
okay.
right? So those are the two things. Role playing is the key. You can do
Uh-huh.
it with the coach, you can do it with the team, you can do it with AI.
Uh-huh.
The other thing that everybody can do, record.
Out of curiosity, now this, if you don't have this is okay. But out of curiosity, just would you happen to have like the prompts by any chance for chat? But
Yeah.
not
So,
if they okay, and I
well, no, listen. So I would just start by saying, "Hey, pal, I call my chat pal.
yeah,
I need to have this tough conversation.
uh-huh,
Here's all the context.
yeah,
Role play is this person with me. That's it."
yeah. Oh, okay, okay. That's
That's,
great. That's great, man.
and
Yeah,
so the last thing I would just say is
hmm,
record conversations
yeah,
and then become, a student of the
hmm,
game and watch how you're communicating and go from there.
hmm. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's very very powerful, man. If just pulling out one of these areas of expertise is this potent, man. I mean, I don't know how it is discussing all because you have like like some key, areas. Man, I mean, this is beautiful, man. So you have a social media because you said you got a coaching program. Do you have social media websites,
Yeah.
or emails where you can be reached?
Yeah. So easiest way to find me is
Yeah.
Chris Duprey on LinkedIn.
Uh-huh.
Bald bearded guy from the Question First Group.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Our website is, questionfirstgroup.com.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay. And we also are, the company's also on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
That's the big places to find me and
Yeah.
them. If you want to get in touch, you can get in touch at coach@questionfirstgroup.com.
Oh, okay.
And next week we're going to launch a sales assessment.
Yeah.
Probably right as this comes out. So 20 something questions to help you see where your sales organization is.
Mm-hmm.
And, probably a month or two later, we'll have one for leadership teams as well. So,
Oh, okay. Awesome. Yeah. Hey, well, Chris, it's been nice, chatting with you about this. And I really want to invite you back because I think I'm this year I'm starting to do this thing with panels or whatever, having multiple. Yeah, and I would love to invite you back again, either as a panelist or just so we can take another deep dive. I hope you don't wise up and start charging me, man.
no,
but
and the more, the more business leaders that can start to become students of communication, the better. And, the more vets that can go get after it and have success.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't be doing this if I hadn't commanded in the 82nd, if I hadn't had those life experiences as a younger man. And, if I can give back in any way, that's what I'm trying to do.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you, man. Hey, it's Chris Duprey, ladies and gentlemen. And if you're listening, I'm going to have all these links in the description and then on the YouTube channel. Please go to his website, follow him on social media, follow him on LinkedIn. And, again, Chris, it's been wonderful having you on. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your Saturdays. I'm glad the weather is treating you guys.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Kids all just went out. So,
it's
good.
All right, you guys. Well, it's been a fun one. Thanks, guys. Until next episode, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks again, Chris.